First Step. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the First Step podcast. My name is Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming back. We're your go-to podcast for everything you need to know before placing those crazy bets that you guys do this weekend. We've got a lot of high-stake matchups this week. We got a lot of games that have some playoff implications. We have a lot of upsets that might happen. We got a lot of stuff to get through. But before that, I'm going to introduce my crew with me this week. We've got I never know which one's on which. But either way, I got Stupid Stu on one side, and I got Charlie Pitskin on the other side. How you boys doing?
Ready to make some picks, man. Halfway through college season almost. We're ready. Excited.
Charlie, be careful, dude. You almost busted through that pull
I know.
over there. Careful. Careful with the guns, man.
Not everyone can get this. This is an exclusive right
Those
here.
are very exclusive brand that CR love.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
Yeah.
so we have a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about bets. We're going to talk a lot of spreads, a lot of over-unders, a lot of trends, a lot of stats that we guys go through. But first thing I want to go through is this was last week was a big week for college football. And kind of this morning, we got some huge news. We got one of the biggest moves since the NIL era has started. We had a guy said, hey, you know what? I'm out. Take me out, coach. You ain't paying my money. I'm out. UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluck has decided to sit out the remainder of the season due to a dispute over supposedly a $100,000 NIL payment that was promised to him when he agreed to transfer there and hasn't been paid yet. How do you guys feel about this?
I feel like it's a he said, she said situation. It's hard to figure out what's going on. I saw that, I think it was Michael Allen, their running back, also quit to redshirt and transfer. To me, it just makes it more sad. I'm sure I probably assume that the players are telling most of the truth. Sure, it's somewhere in the middle, but I never like it. The NIL stuff I think is good in that like these players have a chance to make their money. We look like such a fun team that had a chance to maybe even make a push to be that G5 representative in the playoff. I don't want to see it like end like this. Kind of it blows too. Yeah, it makes it just all less fun.
It's impressive that a program like granted smaller in the sense of football, but they're just like, nah, we're not, hey, we promised you this, we can't pay it. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Kind of.
100. Yeah, at some point it's worth like the 100K in like publicity, right? Like it's just such a negative. Like you're in the transfer portal next year. Who's gonna believe you?
Yeah,
like,
you got a top 5 QB looking somewhere to go. I guarantee you, he's not gonna click UNLV on his sheet there. Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I think it's gonna ripple through the rest of college football. I don't think this is gonna be the first time it happens. It definitely won't be the last time it happens. Sorry, this is the first time we see it happening. I don't think it's the last time it's gonna happen. Other big news. Okay. James Madison, man, I got that game so wrong.
Me too.
We all did.
Okay. We got the North Carolina offense right. They put up a 50 burger. Man, North Carolina put up a 50 burger, bro. We nailed it.
The problem is James Madison put up a 70 burger on them.
Can you tell me North Carolina puts 50? I'll lay any points.
This is the most bizarre week in college football already. And this is why I love college football. Like the most bizarre. This is my second favorite thing that happened this weekend is Mac Brown goes out there and retires after the football game to his team. Asks them if they want him to quit. I'm sure half the players wanted to say yes. And then he comes back the next morning and says, "I'm not quitting. We're back.
We're not going anywhere. I mean, we're not going anywhere."
This guy. Holy cow.
Dude, what is James Madison? Are they the new powerhouse offense of FBS? Are they the best football team in the country right now?
Dude, everything Kurt Signetti touches just wins everything.
It's gold, baby.
He was their coach last year. He left them. It's crazy. Indiana's on fire. It's just
I
can't
You know what's
believe
even better? You know what's the best is the best comments this week is Hugh Freeze. He loses a game in his own stadium, and he goes out there and says, 9 times out of 9, we'll beat Arkansas again. And then Arkansas retweets Hank Brown throwing the worst interception you've ever seen in your life and says, 9 times out of 9, this will be an interception. And Hugh Freeze, man.
It was a wild week, man.
If Hugh Freeze wins another game in his career, it's too many. I can't stand that guy. It's just not a good person.
If he's Florida's new guy.
Absolutely not. There's a rumor that when we hired, I guess it would have been McElwain, that he was like very involved in that search.
Really?
Which I would have sucked. Yeah. I think we came pretty close to hiring him.
Yeah. Other kind of crazy game, Colorado.
Game of the week. Game of the week.
Game of the week. Stu, you sent me a message about it. Sacked 8 times. Still somehow pulled off a win in overtime. Colorado's just one of these teams that, man, that just pulls off these wins. Like,
It's fun to watch, man. It's so fun. And then Dave Aranda, you're supposed to be a defensive guru, and you're rushing 6, and you're putting 5 back there. I don't even know what he's coaching. He doesn't even want his job anymore. He probably just wants to get fired. He must have a good buyout or something, because that made no sense to me. I don't even get how he messed that up. And Colorado, one of the most electric teams I've seen. Just that now they have Wester going off on top of Jimmy Horn Jr. and Travis Hunter, the best player in the country. It's much watched television. Must watch.
As athletes, they're some of the best, right? As athletes, these players that they have are just explosive, man. Like, they could do it all. We're talking about Travis Hunter, who plays both sides of the ball. That in high school, you see a little bit less in college. Man, this guy looks freaking ridiculous. He looks great. If I was an NFL scout looking out there, my eyes are wide open. Put him on my team. I'll put him anywhere. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't get in the NFL much, but I think he's first pick overall. I think it's an asset to have a guy who can go both ways like that. He's elite at both sides of the ball too. I think he's going to win the Heisman. I think he's the best player in college football. That would be my pick.
Relax. Cam Ward's winning the Heisman. Everybody knows that. That's I don't know
My
what.
pick right now. My Heisman projection right now is Jalen Milroe. I think he's going to put up stupid numbers. I don't know how, with the whole spectacle and sideshow that's happening in Colorado, but Travis Hunter is undercovered. What he's doing is so cool and so interesting. Like, he's just box office.
I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, he should be on every ESPN highlight, on every top 10 reel and everything. Yeah,
he stopped a long third down coming across the field, made a great tackle. He had a forced fumble. He had a pick.
Yeah, to win it.
He hits. He's skinny, but he can hit.
You know who's not a super athlete right now? Jackson Arnold decides to step down, or they benched him. We're talking about, he didn't decide to step down. They benched him. We're talking about a guy who was a top prospect coming into this year and last year. That's it. Sat him down, put in a new quarterback, Michael Hawkins Jr., supposedly a very good quarterback. I haven't seen much of him. Have you guys?
Yes. I talked about him on the podcast in our second episode. Well, I was saying take Oklahoma to the bank, because if this kid comes in, he's going to cover. Man, the diaper dandy, he's unbelievable. I think he just gels with the offense better. I think look, Jackson Arnold played like crap, but this kid is also talented. There was rumors coming out from Bud Elliott and some other insiders who were releasing that Michael Hawkins had actually outplayed Jackson Arnold in the fall camp. So I don't think this was as a tremendous fall off from the top as much as, hey, Oklahoma found a better kid. And also, you got to give credit to Tennessee. And we haven't mentioned Tennessee, but they're really the story of the week. Their defense just shut Oklahoma down.
Before we get into this week's games, any changes on your college football rankings there on the CP ranking?
CP, what does that mean?
The Charlie Pigskins ranking. The Charlie Pigskins ranking.
There you go. No, for the most part, the order didn't change much, but the biggest change was I downgraded Mizzou and USC a good amount. I had them in the mix with those other schools, and I have Ole Miss, Penn State, a different tier now. So I have Missouri and USC more with the Utahs, Clemsons, Notre Dames, in that kind of a tier. And also downgraded Oklahoma a bit down there with Louisville, Michigan's in that group now, and a couple others.
What's Tennessee at?
I got Tennessee still at 6, but I moved them up to basically tied with Oregon.
So they're like a top tier.
Like, the way I see it, Oregon, Tennessee, Miami are all like within half a point. As to be like whatever you prefer.
All championship contenders.
I don't know if I'd say championship.
You said it. We don't want to go back on your word. That's what you said. Miami championship is in the future Cam Ward.
ACC championship.
National championship. Cam Ward is the Heisman. It's going to be an incredible year for the Miami Hurricanes. That being said, thank you, Charlie Pigskin, for your great Miami take. I love that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, but we have lots to unpack this week. We have a great week. We have a good slate of college football games. I have a few of my favorite games here, a few of my favorite bets. Make sure everyone grabs your betting slips. Let's get into it. First game I got, Louisville going Notre Dame. We have Louisville coming. They destroyed Austin Peay. They destroyed Jacksonville State. They beat Georgia Tech in the ACC. And now this is going to be their first true test at Notre Dame. Notre Dame still rebounding from that loss against Northern Illinois. We have Riley Leonard running the ball like an absolute beast. I have the stats here. In the last 2 games, he's run for 243 yards, 5 touchdowns, and through the air, he hasn't thrown a pick in either game. I feel like Louisville is not going to be able to stop that type of offense. I have Notre Dame taking at -6.5. What do you guys think, Stu?
I will take that with you. I will tail that with you. I think it's now pushed to 7, but you look at Louisville, and I'm really not impressed. This is a big game. Jeff Brom outcoached Marcus Freeman last year, and the Irish cannot lose again. So it's a lot of pressure on the Irish. I like that situation. Last year, Louisville won this matchup with Notre Dame turning the ball over 5 times, and it's good to know that this Louisville team does not turn the ball over. Louisville's really pass heavy, but I really like Notre Dame's ability to match up, which is why I like this matchup for the Irish. The defensive secondary is number 2 in pass completion percentage allowed. 42% of passes are completed against this Notre Dame secondary. Like I said, Xavier Watts, Benjamin Watson, Jordan Clark. It might be the best secondary unit in the country. It's really playing that well. They only allowed 2 touchdown passes this entire season. And Louisville, a little banged up at the receiver position. I just think Notre Dame's going to be able to match up with this. I think Jeremiah Love is running the ball as well as anyone in the country. And if Riley Leonard gets it together, I could see the Irish running away with this one.
Yeah, I think Louisville also missing their quarterback, right? And Quincy Riley, I think they haven't cleared him yet for this week. So yeah, I agree. I think Notre Dame's offense kind of has this wide open for him to take the win. I like the spread here at 6.5 points. Chucky, you have something on this game?
Yeah, I haven't made a play on it yet, but I do lean Notre Dame and I lean the over, mostly just because it's only 45 points. I just think Notre Dame's offense seems to have a little more of an identity, a little more of how to use their weapons, a lot more than they looked at the first couple of weeks. I think they took for granted what they did week 1 against Texas A&M. That's just scrapping and really relying on Riley Leonard, and then got exposed for that a bit week 2. I think since then they've regrouped and found something a little bit offensively. Look, you talked about it after week 2. What if Notre Dame goes on a run and wins every other game? Let's find out if Notre Dame can put together. I think there's a big game for Notre Dame and proving they could put a couple weeks in a row of competent offense and defense and complete game, because they've been pretty up and down to start the year. Just you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I said in the beginning, like this is have playoffs potential. They need to win this game. Notre Dame cannot afford to lose another game. They will not make it to the college football playoff if they do.
In fact, give me that parlay right now. Give me the over and give me the Irish. That's a great same game parlay right there.
Love it, dude.
I'll lock that one up.
I love that same game parlay. All right. So next game I got here, I have Arkansas going to Texas A&M. Now, Arkansas is coming off a significant win against Auburn, 24-14, bringing their season record to 3-1. They've been consistently taking advantage over turnovers, forcing 5 turnovers against Auburn, and their defense has been a strong point the entire season. They're averaging 40.5 points per game, ranking them 20th in the nation. They have a balanced attack with about 284 passing yards per game, 240 rushing yards per game. That's 26th in the nation in passing, 16th in the nation in rushing. Taylor Grant has shown potential, but he's been a little bit inconsistent, completing only 53.7% of his passes, with 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Ground game has been super incredible. Jackson over there has rushed for over 472 yards and 8 touchdowns. They've had a decent defense, particularly against the run, allowing just 82.8 yards per game. That's 14th in the nation. And they're great at causing turnovers. Texas A&M, on the other hand, has won 3 consecutive games after opening loss to Notre Dame. So we just talked about how Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, and they beat these guys. But the recent 26-20 win over Bowling Green was less convincing, especially over considering that they were the heavy favorites. So something to be worried about there when we're talking about the spread. Their offense output has been inconsistent, and they will need to find a rhythm against Arkansas. Personally, here, I like the total under at 52. Charlie, what do you have for it?
I would lean taking the points in Arkansas. I think a lot of the numbers point to A&M, but that's just not a team I trust. I think Florida gifted them a lot of numbers that are making their offensive output look better than it is.
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of Arkansas, the team I've really enjoyed watching. And Taylor Green's electric. They've got some fun guys to watch, but I don't think they're as good as they are fun to watch. I think forcing turnovers at Auburn masked some really bad defensive play last week, but I think where they're most susceptible is in the pass. And I don't think Texas A&M is built right now to take advantage of that. I just think it's going to be a really close game. I haven't made a play on it yet, but if forced gun to head, I would take the points in Arkansas.
Nice. Stu, what do you think?
Yeah, I like your guys' analysis of this game. The one thing that's hard to jump on with this game is just we don't really know who's going to be playing quarterback at Texas A&M. They're
Yeah.
saying Connor Weigman's listed as questionable. Elko is saying he's hopeful that he's going to be out there playing, but Marcel Reed might just be the guy. He's been playing pretty well in that role. Yeah, the offense has looked a little better with him. I do lean Arkansas. Chucky was saying with the points, just because I know what I'm getting with Taylor Green and Andrew Armstrong. That connection, the receiver quarterback connection, there is great. I wouldn't feel great about it. I happened to hop on this one when the line came out, and I think Hard Rock messed up. So I'm actually going to middle this bet so I can maybe hit both. I'm going to take it the other way now that it moves so many points.
No sponsor. No
No
sponsor.
sponsors.
No
Yeah,
sponsors.
No sponsors.
But yeah, I like your guys' play on this. I do think it. I do think the under's in play big time.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game based that's going to lean a lot on their defenses, and that under's just screaming 52. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring game. I feel like it's going to be high on turnovers. It's supposed to be a close game, right? These are two pretty evenly matched teams, and yeah, I like that one. Next game I have, it's a big one. This is probably the biggest game of the week. Georgia, Alabama. Kirby Smart comes out, and when they lost 2018, they lost to Alabama. He comes out and he uses a Billie Jean King quote, right? He calls it pressure is a privilege, right? And Georgia is definitely in the privilege right now. They have a lot of pressure in this game. We're talking about Georgia is supposed to solidify their status as college's probably best team in the nation right now. They definitely had more success recently. They've had 2 national championships 2020, but they have an Alabama problem, right? And that Alabama problem is lingering right back there on their shoulder, just nipping at them. I feel like this game is going to be all about your quarterbacks. Who's going to outplay who? Is Carson Beck going to come in and show us an incredible game, or is he going to play shitty like he did against Kentucky? Or is Jalen Milroe, the man the man with the arm, going to come in and make some game-changing plays? I'm leaning Alabama. I have them at +2, and I like the total unders at 48.5. What do you guys think? Stu?
I'll go. One thing I'll just say is just push back is like I do think this game in particular is one of the games that gets hurt by the new playoff system a bit. In that, I think like Alabama and Georgia, win or lose, know that they're still very much alive and have still a margin of error to play with when it comes to making the playoff. But that doesn't mean the playoff system is bad. I think it makes games like Illinois and Penn State a lot better because those are teams that would have no chance in the 14 playoff, but a win in that game keeps them alive for the 12-teamer. But I think we're just going to learn a lot. I think I have less of a betting play or strategy on this game. I really don't know what to think. I think they're both super talented teams that are figuring out what they're going to be best at. But my big question mark is just Georgia. We haven't seen that same Georgia that we saw against Clemson. Even against Clemson, they only scored 6 half points. I think I had Georgia as the clear number 1 team to start the year because I thought this was going to be one of the best offense in Kirby's era at Georgia, and it just hasn't proven to be that. They haven't been reliable. Carson Beck has not been the guy that was a first-team preseason All-American in most spots. So that's my question mark: is can this Georgia offense show a prolificness that's been a part of just about every team that's won a national title over the last 10 years?
Stu?
Yeah, I like your pick, Kevin. I'd be rolling with the Tide too. I do think Georgia's the better roster. I think at the end of the year, Georgia's going to have this thing going. I think we got to admit it right now. This Georgia offense has not been impressive, and it's not a lack of playmakers. It's partly due to injury, and it's also partly due to Carson Beck. He hasn't thrown for over 300 yards this entire season. I haven't really liked what I saw. I haven't really liked what I saw in person the other week too, with Carson coming to Miami this past weekend. I ran into him at the no sponsors of Publix, but I just he was in the checkout line with me, and I don't know, man. I'm
what was
not
eating,
really,
dude? What was eating?
Bro, it's sensitive
We got some
content,
inside info here.
We got a little insider.
Some inside info.
We got a little insider, but
he didn't like his look.
I think Jalen Milroe and that offensive line are playing a little better. I think you're getting with Jam Miller. I think you're getting with Ryan Williams, even though he's 17 years old. I think
he's a baby,
this is a big opportunity for Kalen DeBoer. I like his situation. And we've actually seen Kirby Smart kind of stumble in the biggest games, especially if this offense is just not clicking. Don't get me wrong, Georgia's defense is going to be flying across the field. Markeith Williams should be back. Warren Brinson should be back. But they still have KJ Bolden's back there starting, the true freshman.
Yeah.
I can see Alabama making some big plays and scoring enough points, and I don't know if Georgia's going to be able to have enough firepower in the tank to win this game, especially on the road this early in the year.
Yeah, I think when we talk. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll go
So,
at the end here.
so what I'm thinking is like when we talk about pressure and how pressure is like both these teams have a lot of pressure. I don't think necessarily to win in this game. This is a very tough game. I think a loss here doesn't really mean so much when we talk about the college football playoff. It does make a win here really does make your path that much easier because you're playing against all these great SEC teams that are hard to play against. So a win here definitely makes it easier. But I think you win here and if you're DeBoer, you are solidifying yourself as a great coach for a great team, right? And in the SEC. And if you're Kirby Smart, you're saying, hey, this is a new era in the SEC. Alabama's not the top dog. I'm the top dog. So I think those two guys have a lot of pressure in this game. My only thing is Alabama's at home. It's going to be swampy. Supposedly this weather system is going to be coming up. So I like Alabama here, man. I think this game's going to be really fun watch. I do think it's going to be based a lot on their defenses. I also like the under at 48.5 here. Chucky, what were you going to say about it?
No, you guys convinced me. Give me Alabama. I don't need the points. Give me money line. And I do think if I had to predict a Heisman winner right now, I think it'll be Jalen Milroe. I think he's a great player, but more than that, I think Kalen DeBoer, his whole history is he rides his top dogs. Like he's not shy in riding a quarterback to 1,000 rushing yards. I think it'll be completely on Milroe's shoulders. If he wins this week, I think he would become the de facto Heisman favorite. And then we all know how Heisman works. It's a narrative award, and there's a chance to start that narrative for Milroe.
It's not going to happen. It's going to go to Game Ward. Anyways, next big game I have.
He's in it.
Right now, he's the number one candidate right there. Next big game I have, Illinois at Penn State. All right, this is a highly competitive Big Ten matchup. Illinois comes into this game 4-0, having defeated Central Michigan, Nebraska. They're seeking the first 5-0 start since back in 2011. Luke Altmaier has been super impressive. Completed 71.5% of his passes for 862 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. The Illinois offense is balanced with the ground game led by Caden Keegan, who has rushed for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, Illinois is pretty solid. They've only allowed 12.5 points and 294.3 yards per game, showing that they could control the game on both sides of the ball. Illinois' defense, ranks around top 20 in points allowed per game, and they have demonstrated the ability to handle the pressure as seen in their win in the ranked Nebraska game. Penn State also coming in undefeated. Victories over Bowling Green, Kent State, and West Virginia. Offense is powered by quarterback Drew Allar, who has completed 70.7% of his passes for 729 yards, 8 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. Singleton has led the rushing game with 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Penn State is only allowing 13 points and 229 yards per game, making them one of the top defensive in the country. I think Penn State is the more talented team on paper, right? Before I say my bet, I think Penn State is more talented on paper. But Illinois just tells me that they are a more capable and resilient team. So I want Illinois, also huge spread at I think it's at 17.5, 8. You could find it at 18 somewhere.
19.
19 now, I think.
So give me Illinois at 17.5, 18, 19, whatever it is, at minus 110. And I want the money line. Give me Illinois for my same game parlay. Give me both.
And lock up the little sprinkles on the money line.
No, just kidding. That money line's at plus 650 or plus 700 right now. But I do spread at 8. I like the spread at 18.5. If I get crazy, maybe on Saturday, I'm going to throw in a same game parlay and get the money line on there. Talk to me, Chucky. How do you feel? How do you feel about the Illinois fighting Illinois?
I'm super excited for them. I love one of the things I love about this new playoff era, as much as I shit on Georgia, Alabama, and that devalues that game a bit. I think it makes games like this incredible. Illinois, if they win this game, they're really in the playoff picture, in the at-large picture, in the Big Ten title picture. It's a really cool narrative shift for a program like that. Ultimately, I think Illinois has been so impressive. You look at their games, and they've won 2 close games against good teams, but not teams of similar talent level. Brett Bielema
Sure.
really knows how to coach this team. They won a close game against Nebraska, went to overtime. Really close game at Kansas where they turned the ball over and were able to turn Kansas over and get that win. Ultimately, I just think Penn State, although they've been very inconsistent defensively, I think they've got an explosiveness on offense that Illinois just hasn't seen. 19's a lot, so I'm not going to say Penn State's necessarily going to cover. It sounded like you want to lock up Illinois in the points there. But I don't think they have much chance to beat Penn State. But hey, it's the whiteout game. Drew Aller looks good. Like you said, only one interception while also showing a
Right.
downfield passing game they just did not have last year. Give me Penn State for I can see 19's a lot. So I think Illinois in the points is probably the smartest, sharpest bet. But
And you also
I think Penn State's pretty
want to
safe.
see them in the money line?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure. Stupid Stu, where
Yeah,
you?
going to that too. Penn State's 8-7 against the spread in the whiteout games, and they're not overwhelming in this game. And Illinois has been able to handle every situation that's been thrown their way. They won a big game at home, and then they took it last week on the road and just beat Nebraska in a really tough place to play. I do agree with Chucky. I think Penn State, and what you said, Kevin, I think this Penn State team is the better team. You talked about Singleton. Tyler Warren, their tight end, is unbelievable. And then Harrison Wallace and Mari
Matthew
Evans.
Ward
I didn't
was
even talk about him.
Like
Yeah.
the weapons on Penn State are there this year. It really is impressive. I think Illinois should cover this as long as Luke Altmaier keeps being Luke Altmaier and doesn't turn the ball over. Part of that is I know it's he hasn't been turning the ball over. They've been great in the turnover margin. They're 28th in the country, only 40 penalty yards per game. They're not beating themselves. If they can stick to that kind of style, and Luke Altmaier keeps feeding Zachariah Franklin and Pat Bryant, those two talented receivers for Illinois, they're going to hang right in this game. It's going to be a game in the second half. I don't understand this point spread. This is one of my favorite picks. Luke Altmaier completing 69% of his passes, 16th in the country. Run that clock, tick, 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 tick. We're taking the points. Great teams cover. And my one fear is Altmaier getting a little ahead of himself in this situation.
Yeah.
Like he's not this superstar player.
Yeah.
He takes his eyes off downfield when he flees the pocket. He was missing throws all over the place, but he usually doesn't put it in a bad position. Usually just
He's been super lucky to not have more turnovers. I get he doesn't have a lot of interceptions. He doesn't have interceptions right now, but it's not because of lack of trying.
He has
fumbles
no
the ball,
interceptions. He has no interceptions.
I'm not that worried about. That's such a finicky stat, and give me that's my worry about Illinois is that they're so game script dependent. Like that Kansas and Nebraska game, they're able to keep it close, really rely on really grind out drives. Just one or two turnovers in the wrong spot early in this game, and a big play here and there, and they're just out of this play without the firepower to even cover. That's my worry with Illinois is that they've had a lot of positive game script so far this year. They've gotten away with not having turnovers. I don't think that's necessarily a recipe that you can rely on every week and going into Happy Valley with.
So Illini defense is playing good too, though. They're not letting anyone get behind them. They're making tackles. They're playing hard. And Brett Bielema, man, he's a good coach. Yeah. As long as Altmaier doesn't turn this over, there's too many points. Altmaier loves to leave the pocket. It drives me crazy. He loves to put his head down and just start running. That's not going to work on Penn State.
He's like a young Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
moving on
he
the
just
run.
loves. Yeah, he loves to leave the pocket and run, and then he's just dead in the water. And this week it's going to be tough. But man, Illinois, they got some players on the outside. They can make enough plays. I don't see how they don't get 14 or 20 points in this game, and that should be enough to cover 19.
I love it. All right. My last big game, and then I have a few of my favorite bets, but my last big game that I like, Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. We're talking about two teams that are coming off a loss. Oklahoma just lost to Utah. Offense have been pretty solid throughout the entire year. I think they're ranking 13th with 315.3 passing yards per game. Alan Bowman has thrown for 1,173 yards with 10 touchdowns, but has 4 interceptions out of the season. Cowboys rushing game has not been doing very well at all. I think they rank 119th in the nation with just 90.8 yards per game. They're going to need to do way better than that. I forgot what the running back there's name is. I think it's like Gordon or something like that.
Ollie Gordon
has 258 yards.
Mr. DUI.
258 rushing yards this season. Kansas State also coming off a super disappointing loss against BYU at 38-9. I believe they lost that. But they do have a pretty balanced offense. Avery Johnson has 620 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, while also contributing 260 rushing yards. Ground game by DJ Giddens with 417 yards. I feel like they're going to exploit Oklahoma State's defense there for a little bit. I think Oklahoma State has been struggling a little bit. I also don't like betting for anything that has the Cowboys name attached to it. I have Kansas State here at -4. And I like the total under here at 55.5. Stupid Stu, what do you think about this game?
I jumped on this one on Sunday at -5.5 and moved the other way, and I still feel really good about it. I like the Wildcats as well, so good pick here, Kevin. Like you said, Oklahoma State, they hung in with Utah on the box score 22-19, but if you really look into that game, they lit up almost 500 yards to a Utah offense that hasn't been very impressive. They had under 50 rush yards in the game. I know it's Utah's defense, but that's just pathetic. They had the ball for 17 minutes, time of possession. Ollie Gordon's non-existent in this team. He's supposed to be one of the best running backs in the country. That hasn't happened yet. And then I like Kansas State's doing. They got beat bad to BYU 38-9, but it was Avery Johnson's first real road test. They had 3 turnovers. You just can't have that happen. The game got away from them. And BYU also scored on a punt return touchdown and a defensive touchdown. So it wasn't like Kansas State was getting bullied or beat all over the field as much as those turnovers on the road got ahead of them. They also Kansas State ran the ball for 230 yards. So I think they're going to be able to run this ball, get back to what they do. And they're at home, and I think they're going to win this game. I think there's some real concerns in Mike Gundy's camp, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to fix it.
Yeah. Chucky?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State's offense is just a mess right now. They can't run the ball when they're supposed to be one of the best running teams in the country. Their quarterback situation, they can't figure if it's Bowman or the other guy. It's just they have one of the worst success rates offenses in the country, which just means play in, play out. They're just not getting positive yardage or what you would expect to get. And Kansas State, I think Stu was saying, I think last week was a bit of a mirage. I think K-State's been a little more disappointing than I expected. I think both these teams have been a little worse than I expected. This is a game I would have thought that would have been like a real Big 12 contender game to see who was going to really vie for that Big 12 championship. I think now it's more just who's going to survive and just not end their season prematurely a bit. But ultimately, like Kansas State's at home, Chancellor bounce back. Provo, a Saturday night game is weird as hell. So I'll just dismiss some of that K-State loss last week and give me K-State -4. Let's ride as a group and hit that game.
I love that. I love that. Roll, baby, roll. We roll together. So the next few games that I have are just my favorite bets. I don't think they're going to be that much. They're not great games in the sense of what we're talking about. I feel like every game we just talked about is a good game. That's something you worth. You sit there and you watch. These are like, this is where I want to put my money on. This is what really matters here. This is where my betting slips, they either blossom into these beautiful things or they just bust and they fall all over the place. First game I have is Liberty versus Appalachian State. Man, I want the total over here at 61.5. Listen, hear me out. Appalachian State got torched by Clemson and by South Alabama, and I get this. But they're scoring points, and Liberty could score points. So I feel like this is just a situation where there's no defenses. Appalachian State has played at a top 25 pace so far until recently. I think Liberty's just been a little bit less than average of what they used to be, but I feel like they could still score on this App State defense. I have the total here at over 61.5. I don't know if you guys have even thought about this game. Chucky?
I haven't thought about this game.
Stupid Stu.
Yeah, I'm calling this the disappointing game of the week, to be honest. App State, everyone's talking G5 winner with this team and this program.
So is Liberty. So is Liberty.
And then Liberty, everyone says they're going to go undefeated today. We're supposed to win the G5. Like, Jamie Chadwell's a good coach, but Liberty's just not been impressive this year. They're so bad that I think if they go 12-0, we need to really find a way to keep them out of the playoff because they've not been it this year. I think they're one of the most disappointing teams, and they're sitting at 4-0. And I'll stand by that. I'm not impressed. They brought back, Cajun Salters, the dual threat quarterback, and their offense just hasn't been impressing me. They trailed to New Mexico State, UTEP, and then Jake Garcia in East Carolina. The one data point is East Carolina played both these teams well. So I think both these teams are going to have a little fight, a little brawl, and it's not going to be fun to watch. I'd probably take App State with the hook just because they're catching the 3.5, but App State is awful. As far as the over-under, sure, hit the over. Yeah. These guys need to go for it on every single fourth down because these teams are just garbage. I'm disappointed with both of them.
It's trash versus trash. Next bet I have here, Georgia Southern versus Georgia State. This game started off with Georgia Southern as the favorite, and the market has pushed them all the way out to by over a field goal. I think they're at 3.5. So I like here Georgia Southern at plus 3.5. Thinking about the upset.
Stupid 3.5 now, yeah.
Stupid Stu, do you like it?
If I had to take a pick here, I'm definitely taking Georgia Southern. Plus 3.5. You're
Yeah,
catching the hook. You're catching the good number. J.C. French, the quarterback, is playing really well. 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, 64% completion percentage, 900 yards. It's a little over 250 a game. They played well against Boise, who I think is the best G5 team, and I don't think it's close. And then they played really well against Nevada. Nevada's been impressive this year. Georgia Southern's put some really good offensive production on paper against good teams in multiple weeks this year. Their defense, really bad. They're 133rd against the run in yards per play. But it's not like Georgia State's much better. They're 96 in the country in yards per play allowed against the rush. So both teams cannot stop the run. And Georgia State's offense just hasn't clicked for me. They're coming off the bye. They are at home. But I think Georgia Southern's the better team here. Give me the points and the better team.
I love that. I love when Stupid Stu is on my side. It makes me feel good about myself. Chucky, do you have a play on this game or no?
Yeah, Georgia Southern's better.
Respect.
Clay Helton, Georgia Southern, their offense is better.
I love it.
Give me. If they're giving us points, take them.
I love it when my two wingmen are just following with me. We're vibing. We're vibing today. I might blow it up right now. Oklahoma versus Auburn. Oklahoma holds a record at 3-1. Been struggling offensively, especially against Tennessee last week. But now, new quarterback. Things are changing. Stupid Stu loves him. Big fan of the Hawk. And Auburn kind of sucks. Been a disappointment at 2-2. I like the spread here at Oklahoma -2. Stupid Stu, how do you feel about it?
Love this. Love this. I took the under as well. It's actually moved down. I got it at 47.5. I don't know if I recommend it now at 45 but I like Oklahoma too. I took Oklahoma -2.5. I think they're significantly better than Auburn. It's as simple as this. Michael Hawkins Jr., I'm impressed. Oklahoma needs to get a healthier receiver. The emergence of Jacquez Petaway at number 17, he was playing great versus Tennessee. Hopefully they get Deion Burks back. And then Auburn, you have no quarterback. There's no answer. They're in big trouble. Yeah. It's going to be like Auburn's going to be like this all season.
Granted, it is hard to play at Auburn. So that's where I don't know if that's what's holding back Oklahoma so much in the spread and whatnot. It is hard to play in Auburn. That's a tough place to play. They have a great home school advantage there. But I like Oklahoma here at -2. Chucky, you got a bet on this one?
Yes, sir. It's my bet of the week. Oklahoma -2 is my favorite pick. Here's the thing. Auburn has so many things that usually I would love from a predictive side. I think they're one of the worst turnover teams in the country, which I think is less consistent and kind of people underrate how that luck can change week to week. I think Jordan Hare is one of the toughest places to play in the country. So I think Oklahoma having to go from an emotional loss at home to having to go on the road to a tough place to play usually is a situation where I would fade Oklahoma. But I cannot stand Hugh Freeze. There couldn't be worse energy coming out of Auburn right now. Like Stu said, they just don't have a quarterback situation. Peyton Thorne, after how bad he was last year, the fact that he was brought back, the fact that there's not another quarterback you can trust. Hank Brown was making like straight up laugh out loud interceptions last week. It was just incredible to watch. And what's crazy is that like you look at Auburn from a purely perspective, their success rate on play in, play out is pretty high and like portends to be a pretty good high level offense. But their turnovers and just lack of ability to have a quarterback to finish off drives have just absolutely killed what they're doing between the 20s. Ultimately, I don't think that's a matter of bad luck. I think that's just really bad quarterback play. And Oklahoma,
really
the team
sloppy,
that I'm
really
still,
sloppy.
yeah, and I'm not completely out on Oklahoma. I think they do have to regroup. I think you have to worry about a little bit of a lull, and like they might not be as good as we thought their potential was before the year, but they're better than Auburn. So I like Oklahoma a lot. So I took it right when it came out. I'll probably go back in and get in some more.
Awesome. All right. Next game I got coming up here, and I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to close your eyes, forget what you saw last week. Okay? Forget everything. Close your eyes. Anyone that's listening, just close your eyes. UNC versus Duke.
Okay.
I'm going to do the North Carolina +115 money line. If last week didn't happen, this would be an easy North Carolina bet, right? Nobody here likes Manny Diaz. Nobody trusts him.
I like Manny. He's
You're an idiot. Nobody likes. Yeah. And I understand that James Madison whomped on North Carolina last week. I get that. But UNC is a better team. I have UNC beating Duke at +115 on the money line. Stupid Stu, do you agree with me? Please tell me yes.
I hate that I agree with you, but I do.
Yeah.
This is the handshake game, the awkward handshake game.
Yeah.
2021 when Manny Diaz and didn't want to shake Mac Brown's hand after Miami lost 42-45 in that game, and because Mac Brown fired Manny Diaz at Texas, they had the most awkward conversation where Manny was looking away. It looked like someone who got dumped. Man, this is must-watch television. This is the worst football game, and this is
just for the handshakes. Just for the handshakes.
Mac Brown just retired. I can't even believe it. Who? And then you have Manny Diaz and a terrible Duke team. He wants revenge more than he's going to send so many blitzes. I don't even know, man. This game is going to be awfully amazing, just amazing. I do lean the Tar Heels. I think both teams stink. Give me the points.
Love it. Chucky?
Again, one that goes against everything I believe in. I took it right when it came out. Give me North Carolina money line. I think this Duke team was ransacked in the portal after Elko left. And ultimately, bro, George Patton used to do this in World War II. He would look at his men and say, "You want me to quit? You want me to quit? Is that what you want? I'll quit. If this is going to be better for you guys, I'll quit." And you know what the men said? They rallied behind him and said, "No, you're our leader. We're going to stick it out for you." And that's what's going to happen this week.
I can't.
Mac Brown looked him in the eyes and said, "If the problem's me, I'll quit." And you know what his team said? He said, "No." They said, "No, we'll go back out to war with you."
I can't.
And that war's this week.
George Patton.
This is the bounce back.
Mac Brown.
This is the bounce back of all bounce backs right now.
He's going to win the national championship.
I don't know about national title, but they're going to. I might alternate line this. If I can get UNC minus 14, I'm going to take UNC minus 14.
Oh my gosh, dude. I might get a joke. All right.
By the way, I did not know I was going to go that direction before this whole conversation started.
I can't believe we're betting on this team again.
I love
I got
They let up 50 points at halftime last week.
This is my George Patton lock of the week right here.
Yeah, the GP lock of the week. Look, North Carolina is UNC might be the new North Carolina State, right? Like we were so high on North Carolina State for 2 weeks in a row. I thought they were going to win. Same thing's going to happen with UNC. I'm hoping that they pull this one through. Next bet I have here, I think I'm actually on opposite side of you guys on this one. Washington State versus Boise State. I like Washington State here at 7.5 points. I know Boise State has an incredible running game. We're talking about a guy who should be in the conversation for a Heisman, but I do think that this is just a little too steep. I think these teams are more evenly matched. Washington hasn't been great on defense, but I do think that I'm more like within a field goal of this game. I have this game 33 to 30. 30 to 27. I have it at 3 points. I'm sure you guys are going to destroy me for this one, but that's my bet. I have Washington State at plus 7.5. Stupid Stu, talk to me.
Yeah, this is the crossfire. I like Boise big time.
Yeah.
Boise, lowest sacks allowed per season, only 2 sacks allowed, and then the number 1 sack team on defense this season. I think they're the best G5 team. You mentioned Ashton Gentry. He went for 267, the rush yards the first week, 192 the other week, 127 against Portland State last week. They had a cupcake game against Portland State. They got to get some rest, and now they got Washington State on deck, who's probably one of the weakest Power 5 teams. Pac-12 now, but one of the weakest teams. And Washington State's been on a roller coaster. They just won the Apple Cup 2 weeks ago, barely, and then they survived the San Jose State game. I watched that. San Jose State was beating them most of the game. They came back with 6 minutes left to pull that off. They should have lost last week. Boise's a good team. You can't play like they did last week. I like the Broncos.
You think they're double-digit favorites over Washington?
Yeah, I think they're going to cover.
Man. Chucky?
I'm not going to have a play in this game. I think the line is pretty fair. I think Boise State is the clear better team, but 7.5's a lot and like you said, I think this game is more even. Just at overall talent level, I think Boise State's slightly better. I think I would expect them to win, especially being home and being a slightly better team. But to cover 7.5, I could definitely see this coming down to the wire. And I do agree that Boise State's the best G5 team, but technically this isn't a G5 opponent. We'll see.
You're not wrong. Ready? So on my last game, I was gonna come at you guys with a bunch of stats, but here's the truth. I'm betting with my full heart on this one. I'm taking Miami full game parlay. I want the money line. I want the spread. And I want the over. Miami is the best team in the country in my eyes. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I did see though against USF? I don't think Virginia Tech is a good team. I know Mario Cristobal could say that it's the best team in the country, but that's not the truth. I do think that Miami, when they played against, exposed their weaknesses in the secondary. I believe that. That being said, Cam Ward is the truth. He sits back, super calm. What a great, it was refreshing to see a quarterback, especially in the collegiate level. You don't really see that type of confidence. Sits back in the pocket. You never see this guy rushing. You never see him throwing the ball away. He takes his time, sees what he's looking at, rarely makes mistakes. And we talk about, it's a story of two halves last week. They were 15, 17 or so, something like that. The game was super close. And all of a sudden, Miami comes in out of the half and says, hey, we're here. Look at our huge Johnsons. We're here to play. We're going to win a national championship. We're here to win the ACC. And Cam Ward really showed out his colors and played incredible. He passes the ball to everybody and makes everybody look like an all-star. Not to mention, great running backs. Haven't really needed them as much just because the offense has been throwing the ball like crazy. So you haven't needed them to run 200 yards or anything like that. They've been running at the end there for time management. But I do Miami here against Virginia Tech. I like all the lines. Give me the points. Give me the money line. Give me the spread. Give me everything. Stupid Stu, where are you at?
Yeah, Miami's going to beat Virginia Tech, but if I had to lean anywhere, I would actually take Virginia Tech with the points. I think this is too many points. I also think we're overreacting a little. Virginia Tech's not good, but Rutgers is not a bad team that they lost to, they hung with. And then no one knew Vanderbilt would be that good. They lost in overtime, and Drones got hurt. Both teams are hurt on the offensive line, but with Miami, it doesn't matter. They haven't allowed 2 sacks. They haven't allowed a sack in 2 full games. Miami's going to win this game. They're at home. Their offense is number 2 in the country in yards per game with 623 yards. They're number 2 scoring offense in the country with 51 points a game. They're the number 2 in yards per play. They have the most pass yards in the country. They have the most pass touchdowns in the country. They're going to win this game. I just think you had to get this at 16 or 17. It's up to 21 now. I could completely see what happened last week. I could see Virginia Tech in the game at halftime and Miami just wearing them down. Miami's got to stop the run. Virginia Tech's running the ball. Bashil Tootin he's getting 4.6 yards after contact. It's number 6 in the country. He's running the ball. We'll see if Miami's defense can tackle. That's the interesting point if you're watching this game, just to see how good Miami can tackle on the back end. But Virginia Tech does not have enough to go toe-to-toe with Miami on the road on a short week.
Yeah, I think Miami's defensive line is top tier in the country. I would say at least top 10, maybe top 15 in the country. I just feel like Virginia Tech's been super inconsistent, right? Like it's really hard to see where Virginia Tech is. They've been inconsistent. Their defense has allowed 22.8 per games. They've lost 8 out of the last 10 times they played against ranked opponents. I don't like them at all. Chucky, what do you have on this game?
We're spending a lot of time for a game that Miami should cover. I think Virginia Tech is not good. I think Miami played a similar team on the road last week and covered this spread. I think it'll be easier this week. I just think Virginia Tech was an overrated team to start the year, and talent level wise and output wise, I just don't think they're staying within 3 touchdowns.
I love how slowly but surely this podcast has turned Chucky into a full-blown Canes fan. I appreciate that.
First of all, I lose so much money. I lose so much money every year just betting on rivals because I'm like the most negative fan ever, where I think all the rivals are good and Florida sucks. I'm always like super negative like that. I have Georgia as my number 1 team.
In this case, it is true, except for Florida State.
Yeah, it might be true this year. This year might be true.
This year it is true, except Florida State might be worse than you guys, or they're definitely worse than you guys. So those were all my bets this week.
I don't know.
Those are all the bets I have this week. I'm sure I missed some that you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and let Chucky go first because I feel him dancing. He's itching to say something. Go ahead. Who do you have?
I got 3 games that we didn't touch that I'm definitely dipping my toe in the water on. Number 1 is Ohio State minus 23.5. I know it's a road game in the Big Ten, so I know that's a little hairy, but bottom line is I think Ohio State is in another stratosphere from Michigan State. I think a road game doesn't really matter when there's this much of a talent differential, and I think it'll be a second string playing in the second half at some point. So give me Ohio State.
Love that.
I think Michigan minus 9. I think it's less me completely changing my tune on what Michigan is and more, I don't think Minnesota's very good, and I think their offensive struggles are going to be even amplified going against a Michigan defense that's really coming to its own. So I think the point total is around 35.
36.
That feels like 36. Yeah, I would even lean under there. I could absolutely see this being one of those 20-6 that covers by Michigan. I'm not going to bet the total
because Michigan. You're saying Michigan can't move the ball, and Minnesota's not going to be able to move the ball on Michigan, right?
I think it's going to be more Michigan knows they don't have to do much to beat them. So they might just say, let's just take our time moving the ball. Let's sit on the ball, sit
Yeah,
on
I like
Minnesota and
that
kind
bet.
of grind out a 2-score win. And my last one, this is probably the time to hop off the bandwagon, but I've been like betting them almost every week. They're making me money. It's in honor of James Gandolfini, in honor of Tony Soprano. Give me Rutgers again, -2.5.
Ruckus.
Rutgers. What is it?
Ruckus.
Your life, your family, your God, your family, and Rutgers basketball.
And Ruckus basketball. You have I'm sorry, you said you had the what there? The money line or the spread?
Rutgers -2.5. Rutgers
Oh,
minus
I
two
like
and a
that
half.
against Washington, right?
Yeah. I think Washington's not a very good team this year. I think Jed Fish will get it turned around, but not this week, baby.
Not this week. Stupid Stu, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I got 3 or 4. I'll go through quick. I like Utah -9.5 at home against
I love that one
Arizona.
too.
Tough
Great
place to
call.
play. Simple as Utah's defense is awesome, and they're coming home. Arizona's in big trouble. Chucky said, I got Ohio State too. This is actually my favorite pick of the week. I think Ohio State's going to win by 31 or 38. I think Michigan State's got no chance. Michigan State struggled against FAU, got lucky to win, struggled against Maryland, and then struggled against Boston College. And now they're going to play an Ohio State team that's getting ready for Big Ten play. This is going to get ugly quick. I'll go back to this one. I like Buffalo catching 5.5 points against Connecticut. Yeah, Connecticut, man, they've been one of these kind of turnaround teams. They've covered their last 3 games by over 20 points each game. It's a good spot for them. But man, Buffalo is one of the top teams in the MAC. Them and Bowling Green, I like them. Big win over Northern Illinois last week, and Buffalo's playing great defense. Sean Dolak on Buffalo. Listen to this box score stat line. This is one of my favorite new guys in college football. 19 tackles. He's a linebacker. 19 tackles against Northern Illinois. 15 solo. 4.5 tackles for loss, and an interception. This is the Bobby Boucher pick of the week.
Yeah.
This is the Bobby Boucher pick of the week. Give me the Buffalo Bulls, 100%.
Who is this guy?
Connecticut basketball school. Give me Bobby Boucher.
Give me Bobby.
I like Michigan too by 9.5. I think Michigan's starting to find a little bit of an identity more on offense. I think it works a little better with Alex Orji and his 7 completions for 32 yards. But you know what? He ran the offense way better than Davis Warren. I could watch that game. It wasn't must turn the channel. And then Khalil Mullins emerged for them, the transfer linebacker from Massachusetts who's just took over the USC game. I like Michigan. It's the 93rd ranked offense in yards per game, but Minnesota's is 102nd. And Michigan's played 2 great defenses in USC and Texas. So it's probably really in the 80s or 7, and it's only going to get a little better. They have an identity. So I like Michigan to cover 9. And then I like Army and the Temple over. I like Army on the cover as a lean, and I really like the over 45.5 in this game. Since 2018, Service Academy's overs are 14-3 against the spread on a short week, and that's covering by an average of over 9 points. I like Army and their triple option on a short week. Like I said, this Stan Drayton Temple team is awful. They cannot stop the run. They already played the triple option with Navy this year and got killed to it. I don't think that helps them at all. And then if you're just bad on defense, you're just bad on defense. And then Temple's actually started a new quarterback now, Evan Simon. He has 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, played well against Utah State, starting to get more points. That over-under is 45.5. It's too low. It's too low for this game. I know it's a triple option team. And then the last game, I don't really have anything, but I just wanted to ask you guys about it. What do you think of this Colorado UCF game? The Bulls, the Buffaloes are coming out to the bounce house. To the bounce house. And Westers are merging for Colorado. Jimmy Horn's awesome. UCF, great run defense, coming off a bye. They're running the ball really well, but they let up 400 pass yards to TCU. So I think the Buffaloes can maybe get after them through the air. They're catching 14.5 points. UCF's a 14.5 point favorite. I'm wondering if this sounds like maybe a little Colorado first half bet, or I'm talking myself into it.
No, you're not wrong. I do the first half bet. I think the line was at what, -14 or something like that?
7.5 first half. I think it's -120 on there, but you know how Deion's going to push that ball with Shador as much as possible. He's not going to let off the gas pedal. 7.5 is a lot.
7.5
especially
is
if
a lot.
Colorodo's run defense will get worn down in this game. UCF should win the game running away, but in the first half, if Colorado comes out scoring, they're coming off 2 Hail Mary game.
You know
Travis
what I kind of
Hunter's
like here?
stud.
I like UCF at 38.5 total points. Just UCF over.
I like that bet. I think with this game, Colorado only plays in blowouts or the most epic games you ever seen in your life. And like UCF is favored by 14, The only thing I'm confident of is that it's not going to be a 14-point game. I don't know if it's going to be
It's gonna
Colorado
either be
winning
a
in
70.
overtime or Colorado's going to lose by 40 with UCF putting up 400 rushing yards on them. I think it's one or the other. You're going to know in the first quarter whether you're covering or not on this one.
Yeah.
I'm not touching it. I just don't know. I hope Colorado keeps it close and it's a great game just because even though I find like the Dion stuff specifically just fatiguing and annoying, I love Travis Hunter and the team is electric. So I would
Yes.
love to see that be still a big part of this college football season. So
And
I'm
to me,
hoping for a great game, but I think UCF's ultimately going to cover.
also as a Miami fan, you as a Florida fan, Charlie, I'm assuming anytime UCF loses, it's good for us, right? Nobody wants to play for a losing team.
No,
Give me. I need special teams players. I need backups. Give me your starters on my team. I'll take them. No problem.
Give me both those bets too. I'm going to take Colorado first half plus 7.5, and I'm going to take that UCF team total over. I think those could play off each other. Actually,
They
you
can
can get a lot of points
They
early.
can absolutely
That's-
can.
Colorado's defense
see,
terrible.
unhinged bet of the week right there.
We have a lot of
That's
when we
random
tried to-
aspects of the week.
That's when we tried to thread the needle with Georgia and Kentucky like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
With like the weirdest like 7 different bets in like that. So we're like all against each other and then hit none
Every
of them.
time I turn on the TV, Colorado's in overtime. Like that plays for
It's
both
crazy.
those bets.
Guys,
It's awesome.
I'm gonna say
we're-
something wild. We only went against each other on one bet this entire episode.
Which one was it?
Is that
On
the Boise
Mo-
State.
the Washington State, Boise State one. Yeah, Washington, Boise State.
And honestly,
I
I like Boise on the money line more than 7.5 is a bad number to take. I
7.5
do like Boise
is
on the money
terrifying.
line.
7.5 is
Yeah.
terrifying. Man,
Just to be really quick, I have 3 quick leans. Just BYU plus 3, UCLA plus 25.5, and Mississippi State plus 39.
yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna bet those, but those are quick leans.
I like.
I don't know
all
how
those.
you can bet Mississippi State, but man,
All right, so
39's
what
a
I want to
lot.
do before we leave is I want to set up a quick 3-pick parlay. We've got the Terror, Chucky, Charlie Pigskin. We got Stupid Stu, and we got me, the Wiz. We're all gonna make a pick. We're all gonna put it in a parlay, and it's gonna be our first step parlay for this week, college football. I'm gonna go ahead. Stupid Stu, you go first. Who do you want? This is your pick.
okay. I'm between Ohio State and Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's been back and forth some games. We don't know. I'm going to go Ohio State minus 23.5. Michigan State's been
Love it.
bad in several spots, and I think Ohio State's the best team in the country.
All
Give me
right.
the Buckeyes.
Love it. Chucky?
Man, I'm between Michigan, Rutgers, and Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma on the road is gonna be a little unreliable. Michigan or Rutgers? Michigan or Rutgers? Fuck it, just for the
Drama.
narrative of having Ohio State and Michigan in the same parlay. Give me Michigan minus 9. Let's see who can take care of business in that rivalry.
That was a real dick move because that's what I had. So now I have to go on a new one.
You should have put me last. You should
I
have put me
should have
last.
put you last. I should have put you last. I'm going
If
to
you
go.
2 points, I would have taken Utah minus 9.5, but I think it's at 11.5 now. So
No,
that's
you know
what I-
what? I'm going to do North Carolina. Give me North Carolina. Money line.
George Patton. I don't even know. By the way, I don't even know if George Patton was the general that happened where he pretended to quit just to get hit. I know Julius Caesar did it, but let's just pretend that what I said was factually accurate.
I don't know. That's a plus 702 parlay.
I like
George
it.
Patton
I like
Parlay of the week.
I love it, dude.
it.
I love it. I love that bet. Guys, what an incredible episode. I think we've gotten a lot of info for the first time in our lives. We got a lot of info. Oh, Chucky, go ahead.
Colin Morikawa plus 1,000, most points this week at President's Cup.
Dude, golf talk. We need to start getting into golf.
That's
It's
it.
coming. It's coming soon.
And that was talking golf.
I'm smelling it. I love Colin Morikawa. Anything also, as a first step host, you have to understand that we also always put money on our. Is Scotty playing?
He is, but here's the thing: he's gonna have to play with Sam Burns, who's so unreliable.
It doesn't
Their
matter.
little butt buddy best friend thing.
Listen,
He's just no.
I've lost so much
Can't do
money on not betting on Scotty Scheffler that it's not funny. So I always put Scotty Scheffler money now.
The opportunity cost of all these losses. Yeah, we got to
Opportunity
just
cost.
bet on them.
Exactly. We got to bet on them. We got to bet on them. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. What an incredible episode. We didn't even talk NFL. I'll have a whole NFL on Sunday. It'll come out. You guys have some picks. I'll put some stuff out for Thursday Night Football. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. We post all the posts. How'd you guys do on your full post? Last week was a rough one. A lot of bad games. Chucky did well.
I had a tough one. I went 12 and 20 or something. I was 8 units below, but I hit a huge parlay at the end, so I actually didn't lose as many. I hit the Miami-Tennessee parlay, my own stupid stew parlay, bet on my own teams.
Yeah.
I was chasing late, and let me tell you, I'll have some late chasers when Miami plays Cal next week at 10:30. We're going to be up for that one, betting all night.
Oh, gosh, that's going to be constant. Guys, make sure you, again, we're talking about all of our leans. All these things could change if a players get injured or anything like that. Make sure you guys follow us. Make sure you guys like us. We'll post all of our picks on Saturday morning, on Friday. Go check them out. And thank you guys so much. Make sure you keep an eye out for the geocaches. Have an incredible weekend. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a good one.
You've been listening to First Step. We told you we don't take this too seriously, didn't we? I'd say we've proven that. Yes, we love sports, and we love sports betting. But we like the funner side, not the stuffy side. We hope you had a blast like we did. If so, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram and TikTok at First Step Bets. See you next time on First Step.